Hello everyone and welcome into Coach Craig's Sports. This is the MLB DFS Core Pick video for Tuesday, May 13th, if you're joining me for the very first time. First of all, welcome in. Second of all, this is how today's video will be structured. We'll be going over my core picks. It's going to be one pitcher, four hitters. It's going to be based on a combination of past performance versus their respective opponent, as well as some recent history. After that, we'll get moved over to my cheat sheet and talk about my top GPP teams to stack for Tuesday's slate overall. In the morning, I'll be listing my early morning weather report, so that will have any game that does have a double-digit chance of rain or higher. And then throughout the day, I'll be listing as many of the starting lineups as I can get to prior to lock and prior to the start of our baseball game. So might be missing a couple here and there. Definitely feel free to check out over at rowwire.com. If you Google MLB daily lineups, you'll get to there at the same time as well. Definitely a great resource over there at the same time. But without further ado, we're going to get right into it with the core picks for today. So we're going to start off at the pitcher position with Kodai Senga of the New York Mets. Been pitching pretty well as of late. $9,800, averaging just under 35 fantasy points per game. Goes against the Pittsburgh Pirates. He does have really good history versus them in the past, although he did not face them during the 2024 season because he only made one start in 2024. But if we look at what he's done so far in the season, 4 wins, ERA's at 1.16, which is just excellent overall. Once again, averaging about 35 fantasy points per game at $9,800. So I definitely do like his upside there. You know, if you want to pay up to max free, definitely don't have a problem with that. If you want to pay down to some other pitchers, that is a very viable strategy. A lot of good pitching on this slate overall. Then we're going to move down to first base with Jonathan Aranda of the Tampa Bay Rays, $3,100, averaging over 10 fantasy points per game, and he's been doing really well as of late. He faces the Toronto Blue Jays. It's Jose Barrios on the mound. He's 4 for 8 with 2 home runs versus Jose Barrios in his career. He has at least 1 hit in his last 5 starts, 3 multi-hit games during that time span, 1 home run, 2 double-digit performances, and 4 of those 5 games have been 9 fantasy points or higher. So definitely do like the floor of Jonathan Aranda. He's been doing really well as of late, and if we look at what he's done in totality on the season, 342 average, 5 home runs, 18 RBIs. Once again, averaging over 10 fantasy points per game at $3,100. Looks like a pretty solid play. I'm not technically getting to the Rays as a stack. You could do it if that's something you really want to do, but Jonathan Aranda just looks like a solid bet, whether that's as a one-off or in a potential Tampa Bay Rays stack. Then we move down to third base with Josh Jung of the Texas Rangers, $3,000, averaging about 8 fantasy points per game. A little bit of an up and down season for him. Obviously, he was banged up a little bit once again, but 1 for 2 in his career versus Kyle Freeland, the expected starting pitcher for the Colorado Rockies. He has at least 1 hit in 4 out of his last 6 games, 2 multi-hit games during that time span, 2 home runs, and 2 double-digit performances. So a little bit better as of late for the most part. Obviously, do like the upside that he could have in a matchup versus Kyle Freeland and in a potential Texas Rangers stack just in general. And if we look at what he's done on the season in totality, 267 average, 4 home runs, 12 RBIs, averaging about 8 fantasy points per game at $3,000. Then we move down to outfield. We're going to start off with Fernando Tatis Jr. at $4,000, averaging just under 14 fantasy points per game. He is going against the Los Angeles Angels. Jose Soriano is on the mound. Soriano has actually pitched pretty well so far this season, but Fernando Tatis Jr., 3 for 3 versus him in his career. He's on a modest 5-game hitting streak, 2 multi-hit games during that time span, 1 home run, 2 double-digit performances, but all 5 games have been at least 9 fantasy points or higher, so it does offer a potentially safe floor there. Obviously, we want double-digit points out of somebody that's $4,000, but definitely do like the upside with him once again. If we look at what he's done in totality on the season, 320 batting average, 9 home runs, 23 RBIs, once again averaging just under 14 fantasy points per game at $4,000. Then last but not least, we're going to go with Seiya Suzuki at $3,600, averaging about 12 fantasy points per game. He's been one of those streaky hitters this year, so started off the season pretty hot, got kind of cold, got hot, got cold, kind of back and forth. So looks like he's starting to get back on that hot streak once again. It's been a little bit colder, last week or so, but maybe potentially starting to turn around once again. But he is 2 for 2 with 2 home runs versus Vicente Bolzello. Probably mispronouncing his name, but he's the expected starting pitcher for the Miami Marlins on Tuesday. And Seiya Suzuki has at least 1 hit in 2 out of his last 3 games, 1 multi-hit game during that time span. He did homer on Monday, and he has 2 double-digit performances. So hopefully starting off on that good trend once again. If we look at what he's done on the season so far, 245 batting average, 10 home runs, 34 RBIs. Obviously, the RBIs are really good there, and averaging over 12 fantasy points per game at $3,600. But with that being said, if you go with the 5 players that I do currently have listed here, you definitely don't have to play all 5 of these together. Obviously, stacks will play a pretty big part overall, and none of these hitters are on the same team, but feel free to mix and match as you do see fit. And with that being said, if you went with these 5, would have $11,500 remaining. just under $2,900 remaining per player, so we're going to have to find some value players to sneak in there at the same time as well. Obviously, you could pay down from like Fernando Tatis Jr. if you're going away from the Padres stack. You could pay down that pitcher. A couple different options out there at the same time as well. But with that being said, we'll get moved over to my cheat sheet and talk about my top GPP teams to stack for Tuesday slate overall. So we're going to start off with the Texas Rangers going against Kyle Freeland. They have hit him pretty well in the past. Corey Seager would be the main guy there, but he's dealing with the hamstring injury once again, so it sounds like he's going to be out for the foreseeable future and potentially going back on the IL. But we're going to look at Josh Jung. We're going to look at Ezekiel Duran. We're going to look at Marcus Semien. We're going to look at Adolis Garcia. A couple different guys out there if we're making that Ranger stack just in general. Then we have the Chicago Cubs going against Vicente Bazzolo. Probably mispronouncing his name once again. I think I said it even more different that time, but the Cubs have a very small sample size versus him, but did hit him pretty well, I believe, last season when they did face him. And then we have the San Diego Padres going against Jose Soriano. Not a long list history there, but a lot of their guys have hit him pretty well in the past. That is mainly led by Fernando Tatis Jr., Manny Machado, and Luis Arraez. And then last but not least, we have the Atlanta Braves going against their former pitcher and Michael Soroka. Not a long list history there, but definitely do like the upside with them overall. But with that being said, that's what I do have in terms of my core picks as well as top GPP teams to stack for Tuesday, May 13th. As always, if you have any questions related to MLB DFS, be sure to drop them down in the comment section below, and I'll get back to you as quickly as possible. Once again, in the morning, I'll be listing my early morning weather report that will have any game that does have a double-digit chance of rain or higher. I'll be listing those starting lineups, as many as I can get to throughout the day prior to lock and prior to the start of our baseball game, so definitely be on the lookout for those. Definitely feel free to check out over on RotoWire to catch up on the ones that I do not have a chance to get to. But with that being said, if you are brand new to my channel, checking out for the very first time, or have yet to subscribe, please consider doing so. Definitely would appreciate it. Helps to build the community that we're trying to build here at Coach Craig Sports, which is one that's truly for you, the viewers, helping you with your DFS. Right now, we have the MLB DFS Core Pick videos coming out typically Monday through Friday. I know I missed Monday this week, probably going to miss Monday next week, so once again, do apologize for that. I think we're not going to have one for Thursday this week just because it's like a super weird slate, but I will try to keep you guys posted as far as that goes. I have my UFL DFS video coming out once a week. That one is probably going to be coming out on Wednesday evening this week, so definitely on the lookout for that. And then last but not least, if you're interested in sports betting, if you're interested in prop betting whatsoever, be sure to check out the links and promo codes down in the description below for BetUS, Parlay Play, and Prize Picks. If you are a brand new user to any one of those three sites, when you sign up, make your initial deposit, you'll get a first match deposit bonus. For Prize Picks and Parlay Play, it's 100% match up to $100. And then for BetUS, it's 125% match up to $2,000. So there's some pretty great opportunities to be had out there. If you have any other additional questions related to that whatsoever, feel free to reach out to me, whether it's down in the comment section of this video or on Twitter at Coach Craig Sport, and be more than happy to help you with that journey as well. But with that being said, that's all that I truly have for today's video. Definitely do appreciate each and every one of you tuning in. Definitely means a lot to me. I hope that each and every one of you have a great rest of your day and some pretty good luck in MLB DFS for Tuesday, May 13th.